Monish Pabrai is quickly becoming one of my favorite people to listen to, period. I love the way he thinks. I love the way he puts concepts. I love the way he presents information. It just, for some reason, really speaks to me. Not that I'm the only one who said this. There's multiple people who all listen to him and they're like, oh my gosh, you can listen to this dude for hours, hours upon hours. But recently I was listening to one of his presentations that he did for University of Oxford, and there was something he said in there that just kind of hit me really hard. And I think it's the greatest advice for anybody who wants to be an investor. It's literally the number one piece of advice that I think every single one of us that are out here trying to invest needs to make our own and really understand what it is that he's saying. So check out this clip real quick and then we'll come back.
You and Buffett talk about is managing your psychology. And one of the ways in which you do this is you have an inner scorecard, like a checklist of the things that are important to you. If you're comfortable, would you be able to tell us what's on your inner scorecard? And on top of that, would you be able to tell us how and when you knew that those were the right things to have on your inner scorecard?
Well, I think the inner scorecard is it's not a static kind of template, if you will. Basically, like when I met Buffett for lunch with my friend Guy Spear, he said to us that, would you rather be the greatest lover in the world, but known as the worst, or the worst lover in the world, but known as the greatest? And he said that if you know how to answer that question, you've got it made. Okay. So the inner scorecard for all of us is very straightforward. We always know what the internal correct answer is. We know that. We have a conscious and we know that. It's just that it's very tempting to live life with an outer scorecard, which is, if people think I'm the greatest lover, well, let them think that. That's awesome. And that would be an outer scorecard way of living life. And so all you have to do is that when you encounter distortions between the inner scorecard and the outer scorecard, focus on the inner scorecard. And for each different type of, activity or conclusion or whatever you come to about something, your inner scorecard is really what should guide you. So, for example, if my fund is up 30% next year, everyone would be saying, oh, that was awesome. But what I have to do internally is ask myself, well, what was the risk I took? Was it risk-free? Was it truly a great return relative to, and was it the best opportunity cost in terms of where I could have put the money? These are questions I can answer better because I have underlying data, a lot richer underlying data. And so the easiest person to fool is to fool yourself. And you really have to make sure you're not fooling yourself. So an inner scorecard is a really important, it's a really huge advantage in life to live your life with an inner scorecard. What will happen is that if you live with an inner scorecard, you will become more trustable. You'll become more trustworthy. And if a lot of humans are willing to put a lot of trust in you, that's a starting point that's going to give you a huge edge in life.
Don't you just love the way he puts that? I mean, I love it. First of all, the quote on the front end from Warren Buffett was pretty fire in and of itself. But just that whole idea, this goes so much with the idea that I just heard a quote recently that said, if you have to make a decision in the short term and it's a good decision, but in the long term it's a bad decision, it's a bad decision. But if you have to make a decision in the long term and it's a good decision, but in the short term it's a hard decision, then it's always going to be a good decision for you. And it's this idea that we as human beings always have to balance these two things all the time, of thinking about the future, but also thinking about the present. I saw another quote that said that days are long, but decades are short. In other words, the way we sense time is just so all over the place. So understanding ourselves, understanding who we are, understanding our own upkeep is so crucial. And Monish Pabrai talks to this a little bit more. He speaks to this idea of understanding ourselves.
So what I'm trying to say is that Warren is a very unusual person, but I think there are a lot of lessons to learn from him. I think most entrepreneurs, whether you go look at Sam Walton or Warren Buffett or Howard Schultz or Jeff Bezos, they're very intense in their pursuit, and they're very singular in their pursuit. And when you have those traits, you're going to do very well. So a lot of people want to be Buffett. A lot of people want to clone Buffett. If you don't have the personality who would really enjoy picking up those tickets in Ak-Sar-Ben, you're not going to get to being Buffett. So if somehow you have the personality, and you can't do anything about it, you either have it or you don't have it. It's pretty binary. It's not something you can add on. Okay, there's no add-ons that happen. So I think the important thing for humans is you really have to understand who you are. And once you understand who you are, then you have to have behaviors that maximize the talent that you have. And your talents may be very different from Buffett. So you have to focus on those talents and those behaviors.
Again, it's just a great way of putting it. One of my favorite quotes is from Seneca, who says, "Know thyself." Knowing ourselves helps us to actually reach the solutions that we want for ourselves, rather than trying to be everybody else. I like to say this quote all the time to people and tell them, like, take the meat, spit out the bones. But in order for us to be able to do that, we need to know who we are. Don't spend your time trying to seek and chase after all these other things because somebody else succeeded doing that. No. Figure out what works for you and then double down on that. Rather than trying to be what everybody else is, figure out what's your best procedure and then double down on that. Make that work for you, not for everybody else, but for yourself. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all in this video. I really love this whole thing. There's so much packed in this entire video. You need to go check it out. I'm gonna put a link to it down in the description. Go check this thing out. It was wonderful. But I'm gonna catch y'all up in the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace.